This restorative program was developed initially for the Central Fire Protection District in Santa Cruz County. All those firefighters working out super hard, needed a little bit of restorative action. So this involves rolling soft tissue followed by mobilizing joint and soft tissue surrounding it and then loading into the muscles. Beginning with the psoas, you're going to be rolling for 30 seconds on each side, the crease of the hips with either a foam roller or an orb. The lengthening and mobility component is a half-kneeling position where the foot of the back leg is resting on a box or chair with the knee resting on the floor. Gently level off the pelvis, for most people by gently lowering the tailbone or lifting the front of the pelvis up. For more intensity or length, you can take the arm on the side of the down knee and raise it upward and rotate the rib cage away from that leg that's down. The loading component for the psoas is a forward lunge with an overhead reach. A dowel is used to help extend through the spine and the hips, giving length and load to that front loaded compartment of the hip. Next, we move up to the upper body and target the pectorals or the chest. You'll need an orb, or you can also use the edge of the foam roll, where you're going to be lying face down with the orb or roll under the cleft of the front of the shoulder, right outside the breastbone, below the collarbone. You'll gently apply pressure while rolling left to right under one chest area. For 30 seconds, you'll switch over to the other side. The mobility component for the chest area will have you lying on your side, drawing your knees forward to be in front of the hips in somewhat of a fetal-like position. Taking the top arm and sweeping it along the floor, overhead, and around to the back of the body. You'll try as best you can to keep the knees in front without lifting off the ground, so as to keep the hips and pelvis from rotating along with the rib cage and arm. You'll repeat this for 30 seconds before switching over to the opposite side. The loading component for the chest will involve a resistance band or cable system that's roughly at shoulder or head level. Stepping forward with the opposite leg, gripping the handle in one hand, you'll press the arm forward and extend it fully, and then retract the arm back by your side and allow the rib cage to rotate in that direction. So you'll have the arm extending back and forth with rib cage rotation. We travel back down to the hips for the next target area, that involving the gluteals, the back of the hips or buttocks. You'll be seated upon the foam roller with one ankle crossed over the opposite knee. It is that ankle side that you've crossed that you'll rotate your hips over toward, rolling back and forth north to south over the back side of the hips for 30 seconds before switching legs and performing the same motion on the opposite side. The mobility component will also involve crossing the ankle over the knee. However, you'll be in a standing position while holding on to a wall or some object that is sturdy and will not move. You'll simply lower yourself into a single-legged squat with the opposite leg crossed upon the top of the knee. And you'll perform several slow-motion squats up and down to lengthen and shorten the tissue surrounding the back of the hips. The loading component of the gluteals may involve an exercise glider or perhaps a plastic plate or a wax paper plate on the floor. You'll be standing upon it with one foot, while the other foot is your anchored point to the ground. The glider leg will reach back behind you and slightly behind toward the opposite side, while the same side arm will swing or reach forward as far as it can. So in essence, trying to take one arm and the same side leg and reaching forward and backward in opposing directions to create length and load into the opposite hip. We journey back up to the upper body to the largest muscle there is, the lats. You'll be lying on your side with a foam roller nestled underneath the armpit. You'll gently begin moving a little bit forward to backwards toward the upper arm or down along the edge of the scapula or shoulder blade, trying to find the tender spots for 30 seconds before switching over to the opposite side. The mobility component for the lats will involve holding on to, say, a door frame or a pole or any object that is about head level or slightly higher. You'll reach up with one arm while slightly side bending and taking the lower arm and placing it against the same object. The upper arm will be holding on firm while the lower arm is gently pressing the body away from that area. One arm holding, the other pressing to create length in the shoulder joint and down into the latissimus dorsi. The loading component for the lats will involve a resistance band anchored high at head level or higher in a door frame or wherever you can manage to place it. You'll be lowering down onto one knee while holding on to the end of the band with the same side arm. Allow the band to draw forward, lengthening out the tissue, and then begin drawing the elbow down by your side, pulling from an upper standpoint down into the side of the ribs, lengthening on the way up, loading and shortening on the way down. journey back down to the thighs, where we'll be focusing on the front of the thighs, the quadricep muscles. Using a foam roller and being face down upon the floor, resting the roller under the top of the thigh, you'll simply move your body north to south, allowing the foam roller to roll down toward the top of the kneecap and up toward the crease of the hips. The leg can be rotated outward, straight down, or inward for different pressure points along all heads of the quadriceps. Lengthening out the quads, we'll use a flat bench in which you can rest one knee upon. Reaching back with the same side arm, you'll grab the crook of the ankle and draw it toward the backside of that hip. Lowering your body down as you do so, and then coming back up, allowing the hip to gently descend toward the bench and then move back on up. This can be an intense stretch sensation for many, so do be careful that you don't go too quickly or too aggressively. Loading into the quadriceps will involve a 12-inch box, and we'll be just simply stepping up and down with one leg at a time. Rather than alternating legs, try to load completely onto one leg and only have the foot gently touch the floor if possible. You may want to do this beside a wall or hold on to a dowel for more balance, but try to maintain a nice tall posture as you drive up and down with one leg. We begin targeting the mid-back next by lying face up with the roll resting across the backside of the rib cage and across the back of the shoulder blades. With your hands crossed over your chest to allow the shoulder blades to move away from each other, you can lift your hips up and slowly roll up and down the spine from the base of the neck down to the base of the rib cage. After 30 seconds, take your arms out away from your body so that the shoulder blades move toward one another and you can target the tissue that surrounds the scapula. To mobilize the mid-back, you'll be in a quadruped position on all fours. Simply lift one hand off the floor and place it behind the small of your back, and then rotate in that direction and back down again. allowing the rib cage and the head and shoulders to rotate up toward the ceiling and back down. To load into the mid-back will require a resistance band or cable. Lower yourself down onto one knee and with that same side arm grip onto the handle. You'll be drawing the arm toward you as your spine extends or lifts, and as your arm reaches forward, you can internally rotate or draw the thumb down and in while your spine flexes, almost pressing the back of the rib cage backwards and letting the sternum or chest bone drop. As the arm retracts back and pulls, that sternum lifts up and the spine extends, and you create that flexing, extending action with the spine while the arm moves back and forth. After 30 seconds, switch arms. Lastly, we come to the lower leg or the calf muscles. You'll be seated upon the floor with the roller going left to right, resting one leg, the lower leg, upon the foam roller. You can, for more pressure, take the free leg and cross it on top of the resting one. Lifting the hips gently using the arms, you can roll back and forth, north to south, being sure to rotate the leg internally or externally for more or less pressure in different areas. Perform 30 seconds on one leg before switching over to the opposite. To mobilize the ankle and lower leg, we'll use a small incline plane or perhaps a small step, placing one foot up on there with just the ball of the foot so that the foot is angled upward and heel resting on the ground. The non-focused leg can be just gently resting upon the top of the step, with most of the weight going down into the standing side. You'll simply rotate gently the lower leg by rotating the ankle and the rest of the body. Be sure that the lower leg is also rotating and not just the upper body. We don't want to place torque or tension into the knee joint. The motion should come from below that. Loading into the lower leg will involve that same step or inclined plane. You'll simply be loading up onto the ball of the foot and lifting the heel off the ground and then slowly descending back until the heel touches once more. So a single leg calf raise for 30 seconds on one side, followed by 30 seconds on the opposite foot.